Hi everyone, welcome back to my 1973 series. I am doing a review on Lucky Luciano, which is one of the many films recommended to me by 99 Filmo. 1973 is his favorite cinema year, based on the films that came out then. I've seen many of his recommendations, and I am on board with that statement. I wouldn't say I agree with it because I'm more into the 80s and 90s stuff. As favorites, personal favorites. 1992 in particular is a favorite year of mine. But I've seen a bunch of good ones. So Lucky Luciano is one of his recommendations. It is based on the life of Salvatore Lucania, who was also known as Charles or Lucky Luciano. He was raised in Sicily, in Italy, and then he came to the United States and became an organized crime figure, and then after a prison sentence was shipped back to Italy, where he took up residence in Naples and ran organized crime in America from Naples. And this was very frustrating to the U.S. government because the Italians weren't doing anything about this guy. They were sort of letting him do his thing, and the negative effects of that were felt in the U.S. The film was directed by Francisco Rosi, who I'm not really familiar with, but of course this is an Italian production, and the version I saw was dubbed in English rather than subtitled. The main character, Charles Luciano, was played by an actor named Gian Maria Volonte. I believe that's how you say his name, or maybe it's Gian. G-I-A-N is how you spell his first name. And I've seen a couple of films that he's been in by Sergio Leone, A Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More. But I couldn't tell you really what character he plays in that. Except, it's the same kind of thing, because those movies, again, a lot of the actors, aside from Clint Eastwood, spoke Italian, and so their lines were simply dubbed over in English. This, like I said, this version was dubbed, so that was a little bit of a problem for me, because not all the voiceover guys were as emotive or as naturalistic as other ones, and so that led to some, sort of awkward scenes in which some characters speak rather stiffly, but it's all post-dubbing. A couple other actors who I recognized. Rod Steiger, of course, was in Sergio Leone films, particularly The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, I'm sorry, no, he wasn't in that one. That was Eli Wallach. Rod Steiger was in Duck You Sucker or Fistful of Dynamite, correct. And also Vincent Gardenia. I'm not sure if he was in any Leone films, but he did play the shopkeeper in Little Shop of Horrors, Mr. Mushnick. That's what I know him from. I believe he was also in Moonstruck. I could be wrong about that. Now, I made some notes, basically, as I watch this picture, because this is not quite a history lesson, but it plays a lot like that one. There isn't a lot of dramatic embellishment, it seems. It's told in a very straightforward way. A lot of dates and facts are conveyed in a pretty straightforward way. There's a title card in the beginning, which basically sets up what's happening, and it starts with Luciano basically organizing a wide array of murders of other crime figures. They called it Night of the Sicilian Vespers, which took place on, oddly enough, September 11, 1931. And basically he had a whole bunch of guys working for him, coordinated this multi-murder attack, basically took out a whole bunch of other people, and that automatically boosted him up to be the preeminent crime figure in the United States, because he took out all these guys at once and he was next in line. Kind of like what happened to King Ralph, except that was an accident. This took place 5 months after a hit on Joe, I can't pronounce his name exactly, I'm not really sure how his name is pronounced, Massidio or Masseria, not really sure about that. Maybe they were talking about two different guys. But it's funny how both that and another event, another significant event in Luciano's life, took place on the 11th of the month, which is also when he was born. He was born on November 11th, 1897. The Night of the Sicilian Vespers was on September 11th, 1931. And then after serving a 9-year sentence, Luciano was shipped back to Italy by the United States on February 11th, 1946. Kind of a funny coincidence there. There's a lot of jumping backward and forward in time, and at one point the movie shows basically what they call a UN drug conference in 1952. This was the form in which the Americans were complaining to the United Nations representative from Italy about Luciano's activities in Naples and how he was coordinating all this crime in Naples to take place in the United States, and all this money was being funneled back to him, and nothing was being done about it by the U.S. because by the Italian authorities and also by a lot of the Americans in Italy, because there was a lot of military personnel that were also benefiting from crime. They were making money, they were being paid, they were living well, so they didn't really want to disrupt that as well. I made another note about here, 40 arrests in 1962. Something happened in 1962 that there was 40 arrests. I took these notes actually while I was watching this movie, I think back in June, which was around 6 months ago, so I'm not real clear on... I looked on Wikipedia for a plot synopsis, just for the whole film, but unfortunately it doesn't have one. I might have to look elsewhere for that. I'm glad I saw this movie, but it's not one of my favorite movies. Like I said, it's kind of dry and, not incredibly energetic or stylish. It's pretty much a straightforward, history lesson, dramatized through actors. Yeah, it was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was, but not one of my favorite movies, of the ones that I've seen for this series. Anyway, thanks again, 99 Filmo, and the next movie I'm going to be talking about is another one of your recommendations, Oh Lucky Man.